Amazon
No,
parcel?
not yet. Not yet.
I just want to say yesterday that we went and tried your we have too many creative hobbies
Activity.
now. This is activity. We tried to do your activity,
Fun
your chosen activity, and that is kayaking without a motor. And
What's
so
he doing?
we went to go and rent some kayaks to do some kayaking. And they didn't have any paddles. So I said, our house is 30 seconds away, and there's a boat launch, and we have a little boat and a motor, 15 horse, and I said, why don't we just do that instead?
Yeah.
And you got to drive. How was that?
I did.
Is your arm still sore?
No, that's actually not. I'm surprised.
Do you have a passion for motors, or you're still about paddle life?
No, it's so different. That's totally
I like motors.
different. That's entirely different.
Scooter with a motor. Would you like a scooter if it didn't have a motor and you had to propel yourself? Would you like a boat if you had to row it?
No.
Huh.
Kayaking's different.
Okay.
It's like you're in the water, but you're on the water.
It's
so quiet.
Okay.
It's
I think you're
peaceful.
going to do great.
You hear the birds.
Once or twice.
You see the lily pads.
And then
I don't
there'll
think
be
you
a
should
kayak.
make fun of me.
There'll be a kayak sale next year. Okay.
Next week?
No. Next
year?
Next year. I'm sorry.
Defeat. You are.
No. I don't want to be a defeatist. I do not want to be a defeatist. I want to build you up and strengthen you and encourage you and guide you into more of a motor lifestyle. But if you want to kayak and use your force and your energy, then I'm not going to stop you.
That's the last thing that I went to a conference and I realized that I live my life from a position of defeat.
I don't want to be on that side.
You're like the whisper of Satan.
No. I'll close my mouth. God. What would you prefer? A motorized scooter or a bicycle?
Well, the scooter was new and really fun.
No. Like a motorized scooter, like a motorbike, like a little
motorized
moped.
Motorized bicycle?
Yeah, no, yeah, like a scooter, like
no
a sit-down
idea.
scooter.
I don't feel like I would use either of those things.
Oh, I could see you
Those are
scootering around in.
Where would I go?
Oh, you
I'm
would
not gonna go get my groceries on a scooter.
I would. All right.
Costco. Some bungee cords.
I can totally see
A
that.
big backpack.
Oh my goodness.
IKEA bags over
With
each shoulder.
the dog in the front back. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Saying
That's enough of that.
yes.
We shouldn't
Look at how
talk.
much
We
he's
should
still-
not. We should not talk defeatist to each other. We should build
No, I
instead of
know.
curse.
I know.
And so,
This morning I was all excited about your lettuce with you.
my creative hobby is growing exponentially. I have lettuces this big.
Tiny little cups of herbs.
My basil didn't come up and my mint didn't come up, so I don't know if they were.
So what's the point of what we're
duds.
doing? So the whole point
Wait, this-
is no. The whole point is to have a creative hobby
An activity.
and fun, like to
Physical
engage
activity.
physical activity, but also to have fun, to have moments of laughing, and
Life is not a funeral.
yeah. What's the point of that?
Yeah.
What is the point of it?
Point of what?
What's the point of what we're doing?
In life?
Yes. No, like
To have fun?
Oh my goodness. Now I understand how you feel when you ask me those hard questions.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Those tables got turned really quickly. Do you have an answer?
we're trying to rewire our brain
Oh, we're rewiring our brain.
and engaging our spirit.
Okay.
God created us to be creative and have fun and
Know who we are.
know who we are and
Live in the light of the spirit.
all right. Yesterday we talked about learning to say no. Today let's discuss another important word. Yes, dear, you should buy a kayak. We can learn to say yes to things that feel good, to what we want for ourselves
I'm
and
just glad we
others.
didn't buy the 2-man kayak.
If I use this kayak 3 times,
go.
it will have paid for
Okay,
itself.
great.
3 times. That's
No,
all
it
I
was
have to use
$15 rental down at the dock, and
For
the
1
kayak
hour.
was $180.
That was only for 1 hour.
So 15 divided by 180.
No. The other one that I'm going to rent is going to be $45 for 3 hours, which is still $15 an hour.
Yes. So
We
how
can
many times
learn.
do you have to use it?
I'm just going to say
Okay.
that if I use it 3 days, like three outings, that it's worthwhile.
Just this year.
But he's cleaning up his own fur. Hairball. We can learn to say yes to things that feel good, to what we want for ourselves and others. We can learn to say yes to fun, yes to meetings, to calling a friend, asking for help. We can learn to say yes to healthy relationships, to people and activities that are good for us. We can learn to say yes to ourselves, what we want and need, our instincts, and the leading of our higher power. We can learn to say yes when it feels right to help someone. We can learn to say yes to our feelings. We can learn to identify when we need to take a walk, take a nap, have our back rubbed, or buy ourselves flowers. I'm good at all those things.
Oh, you're so good.
We can learn to say yes to work that is right for us. We can learn to say yes to all that will nurture and nourish us. We can learn to say yes to the best life and love, to the best life and love have to offer. Today, I will say yes to all that feels good and right.
I just don't like the prayer at the end.
Probably have to challenge yourself on that a little bit.
I'm just going to say yes to what feels good.
We probably have to
That's a
challenge.
horrible
It's a
prayer
good
to end with.
starting point.
It's a good starting point, and it gives you permission to not be a martyr, not to be a victim,
Yeah.
but to live
Yeah.
a happy, joyous, and free life.
Yeah.
And that's what recovery has given us, is a contentment, a peace. I remember going into rehab, and I had no clue really what they were going to do. And I remember walking in the door, and I go, I don't know what they're going to do, but I need this to stop.
Yeah. And I was
through recovery, that has stopped. And now there's fun that we can do. And yes, we can buy a kayak.
I was thinking we can't be thrown by the waves of this feels good and it doesn't feel good anymore. I don't want to do it. It's too hard and I'm going to go over here. I think there's something really, really significant about making a commitment and saying, and that's why at the beginning of 12-step meetings, they always say, go to 6 meetings, because when you go to that first meeting, go to 6 meetings before you decide if this program is right for you. And sometimes we just need to decide we're going to do a thing, even if it doesn't feel good and doesn't feel comfortable, because there is nothing comfortable about a 12-step meeting. That is everybody, the people who say oh, those aren't for me, those aren't for anybody. No one walks into a 12-step meeting, they get there in crisis and says oh, this is such a wonderful place, I'm so happy to be here. It just isn't a thing.
But over time you do get family.
And then but when you stick it out and you put yourself in this uncomfortable position and you start to hear other people's stories and get the courage to actually be honest with yourself, something totally changes. And there's just something so significant about deciding to do a thing and doing it even when you don't feel like it.
Well, and following through with
Following through on it.
Yeah.
The commitment.
I know in my addiction, I didn't follow through with anything. I failed at everything. And it was this self-defeating failure, so that I would give myself permission to go and drown it.
And we've had that. I've heard people say that all the time. I totally didn't feel like coming to this meeting tonight, whether it be whatever it is. I've heard it at church. I've heard it at 12-step meetings. I've heard it all kinds of places of I really didn't feel like coming, but I'm really glad I made myself come here because I'm leaving feeling so much better. And I wondered the other day, we were talking about this, and I said to the friends that I'm doing the study with, I wonder if part of it, yes, is the connection with others. We're at home, we're by ourselves, we don't feel good, we've had a bad day, our boss has been cranky, or we have all this stuff going on, and the last thing we want to do is get dressed and go face people. Maybe that's not entirely accurate right now. The last thing we want to do is turn on our Zoom meeting and have to face people on Zoom. But when we do it, I think not just the connection with other people is actually what's changing inside of us, but I think actually the thing of just following through on something that we knew we were committed to changes something inside of us.
Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And I think it's this is, if I wanted to break down that last prayer, what feels good and right. In 12 steps, step one is about qualifying the newcomer. And if the newcomer qualifies and relates to my experience, and this is a yes, let's do what it takes to do this process, and then follow through with it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let your yes be yes. All right.
So when you say qualify, it's like going to the hospital and they're going to check your blood levels, and then they say, oh, yeah. Actually,
and they look at all the symptoms.
You have cancer, mm-hmm. and here's the treatment.
Do you want to take treatment?
Do you want to take this treatment?
Or no?
It will be hard. Maybe you'll feel sick sometimes. You're going to have to, not do things that you did before. And sometimes people say yes, and sometimes they say no.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know what you just said, but there's a lot of people that might be watching that just went, they're comparing addiction to cancer. Yep, it's a disease. And it's fatal, and it's progressive, and it takes lots of lives. But we can recover from it. We can put it in remission. Anyway, that's another whole conversation. Good one. Way to pull that one out. Like it.
I mean...
Just like, and diabetes. We have the ability to actually say yes to treatment to make our lives better. It might involve stuff that we don't like eating differently or taking medication or exercise.
But I think that some people get really discouraged by the disease concept and say like, well, that's hopeless then. If it's a disease, then it's hopeless and you can't do anything about it. But I often think, like, we were listening to that neuroscientist, and he was talking about mental health and saying like, you might have these mental health conditions, these mental diagnosis, but there's still things that you can do that will actually, like, if you push yourself out of this, zone of where you got where our brain has brought us, we can push ourselves and do things that will give us the best hope of getting out of that.
Well, and the hopeless...
And not to say that not like I fully support medication.
A hopeless view is that it's not a disease, and it's all behavior control.
Right.
And that's a horrible way to live, that it's a behavior. So the hope is that nothing outside of this needs to change. It's in here, and I don't have the ability to do that, and I need the power of God to transform me and my heart and take away my sickness. And Jesus came for the sick and the broken and the hurting, not for those that think they're righteous.